What's going on, guys? Jack here and welcome back to yet again another car video. You may be thinking, what the hell's happening? I'm a FIFA channel. I keep uploading car videos, but I really wanted to do this video. Basically, it's going to be a sensible type of video where I look at the running costs of my Nissan GTR, which you guys already know I have. And I've also got Paul here, who you may recognise if you follow him on Instagram or Supercars of London on YouTube. I'll leave a link to his channel. The reason why he's here, one, the location you may recognise is where he's done his Audi R8 V8 running costs and also his Lamborghini Gallardo. So I thought it'd be quite cool to pay respect to that kind of series as such, to bring my car here, do my running costs, but also at the end of this video, just see where it sits in between, possibly, of the Audi R8 and the Lamborghini Gallardo. What do you think is going to happen between like the running costs of this compared to the Audi R8 and the Gallardo?
My first video that I did here with the R8, I wasn't that intelligent with cars.
I'll give you that one. I remember watching a clip that was quite funny about the litres of your car.
Yeah, it's a 4.2 litre car, but it has 85 litres of fuel, which I think is quite impressive. So I got confused by the actual capacity of the engine, which was a 4.2 litre V8, and also the capacity of the fuel tank. So I got confused with the 85 litres, how it fit in the 4.2 of the R8. So anyway, now that I've learned that, I also said that the Nissan GTR was a little bit more expensive to run when I had the R8. So I'm thinking it is going to sit between the R8 and the Lamborghini that I currently own.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting.
I think so. I think probably you're on the right track there, but let's cover the running costs. We're going to go through literally everything: servicing, tyres, brakes.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
All the optionals as well, because I've done quite a lot of optional stuff, not just the needs of keeping it up, you know, how it is basically. So
the cool thing with Nissan GTRs is there's just endless opportunities.
Yeah, it's a tuning and modding car. You can do so much to it. All right, so we're going to start off with like the needs of running this car, the general upkeep, because at the end of the day, as you can see, we've done quite a lot to the car, including like carbon, exhausts, wraps, loads of stuff. So we're going to put that towards the end and we'll get to that later. So first things first, servicing. The servicing on this car is a 2009 model GTR, and when they first come out, you had to service them every 6,000 miles or every 6 months, I believe, or maybe it was 10,000 miles and every 6 months. But now that we're in 2016, things have improved. You don't actually have to keep to that. You can service it once a year and do more miles basically. So that cost is going to be around anywhere between like £600 and £1,000. Obviously you've got to take into consideration whilst it's being serviced, something might pop up like the bell housing may need to be replaced, and that may set you back close to maybe £800 to £1,000. It really depends again what you go for, because with a GTR there's so much different options, as Paul said, to go for. Even just general upkeep, you can always have something different basically. Alright, so the next one is going to be the tyres. So as you can see here, I have a brand called Vredestein, which I'd never heard of before actually getting them. But on the back, I have Pirelli Zeros. I've actually got a funny story about this. When I had my exhaust put on, I had fresh new tyres put on, which is front and back Vredestein. And because it's on the dyno, I had to keep going on the dyno. I did about 10 runs on the dyno. It got so hot that I shredded the Vredestein tyres. Literally chunks come off and I couldn't drive them home. So what the owner of KnightRacer did is they actually put Pirelli Zeros on the back, so I could drive home, but they're more expensive than these ones. So for a full set of Vredestein, the cheaper ones, you're looking at about £800 to £900 for the full set, so rear and front. Whereas with these Pirelli Zeros, these are about £300 a tyre, obviously slightly cheaper for the ones at the front. So yeah, so you're looking at £1,200 versus about £800 to £900 for a full set. Alright, so the next one is going to be brakes. So as you can see here, they are very, very, very big brakes, and obviously you've got your discs, you've got your pads. The discs are going to cost you about £700 for a set of front and back. So you're looking at £700, that would be £1,400 just for the discs all the way around. And then you've got your pads, so it'll be around, again, you've got choices. You can go for cheaper ones or you can go for more expensive ones. With a car like this, you don't really want to cheap out too much on brakes, but you're looking at about £250 to £300 for front, and then £250 to £300 for the back as well. And it's so cold out here, I'm getting a runny nose at the moment, it's annoying. Alright, so the next thing is going to be the petrol, and I've actually got this popped open because I want to kind of keep moving as I'm going. It's a little bit dirty at the moment, but the fuel. So let's say you cover around 10,000 miles, you're looking at about £3,000, which is obviously, if you do the maths, about 30p per mile, and that's using I use Shell V-Power. So Obviously you can use BP super unleaded as well, I believe they have, but you always really want to be using like a super unleaded for this car. It definitely benefits from the performance upgrade, but also I believe it helps the engine in some way. Again, I'm holding my hands up here, I don't know the ins and outs of these types of things. We've got engine oil as well, which is something that you do actually eat through. Obviously not to the same extent as fuel, because you do need fuel quite a lot. But fuck's sake, why do I keep putting these stupid things in?
I do it all the time. I'm going to just carry on running.
This is what you did the first time you recorded, but you didn't have the balls to tell your mate, oh, let's re-record that. Well, not the balls, you know what I mean. It's like you think, oh, I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
Alright, so whilst we're on the topic of petrol, we've also got engine oil, which is something you do go through, but not to the same extent. So you're looking at about 30 to 50 pounds a bottle, depending on obviously how many miles you cover, and if you're obviously racing your car around or you're just driving it casually, how much you start and stop the car, that kind of thing. You're looking at about replacing it, using a whole bottle every 2 months or so. I'd say 1 to 2 months if you use the car a lot, 2 to 3 months if you're not so much. But if you do like a lot of short journeys, it will go through it quicker than if you're doing like motorway journeys, because it's the starting of the car that uses the oil more so. And finally, what you need for your car before you can drive it is obviously insurance. That was actually someone I think that knew you or me, or maybe both of us. Right, let's put me off track. Right, so obviously what you need before you actually drive a car like this, or any car really, is first of all insurance and tax. Now, the tax bracket, brilliant. The tax bracket is the highest, which I believe is around £550 per year, and that's quite a big cost, isn't it? But the CO2 emissions is the highest, so you have to pay that. Secondly, you've got insurance, and I think I've actually got very, very affordable insurance. I'm 22 years old now. I actually got the car when I was 21. I paid, I think it was £1,800 when I was 21, but about 3 to 4 months after I turned 22, and I wanted to add another car onto my policy. So I got a multi-car, and this is actually £1,300. That's very affordable for a 22-year-old. I understand that, because I think there's like 30-year-olds that get a GTR. They've had like 10 years of no claims, and they still pay about £1,200. So that is very, very high cost. It all depends on like the location where you live, and kind of what the value of the car is. Alright, so now we've covered everything that you need to actually run a Nissan GTR. We're going to go through the things that I've done to my car. So if you guys are thinking about buying one, what you can go for, what's affordable, what's not so affordable, because without being, showing off or anything like that, I've spent quite a lot of money on my car on things like the wrap, some carbon, some tuning and stuff like that, and the exhaust. So we'll cover that now. So first of all, as you can see, we have the wrap, which I went to Yiannimize for. Again, you can go for absolutely anything. You can pay. What is that? Is that an atom or something? That's like a little. Oh, anyway, we'll carry on. I remember watching your videos. You kept doing this as well. It's like, oh, Ferrari. But yeah, the wrap could cost you anywhere from like £500 to like 10 grand. And I'm being serious there. It really depends what you go for, where you go to, what colour you want, and everything like that. So let me kind of give you a brief summary of the costs. But don't take these costs to the actual shop. Okay, so you're looking at. You can go to somewhere, let's say you have a fully black car, you might want to do like little bits of it red, you might just have like little red lines in it. You're looking at small costs. You're just basically paying labour and a little bit of parts. So you're looking at like £500 or something. I've seen people put like red lines on it to make it look a little bit like Nismo. And then obviously you've got your full wrap, so you could go for all satin, all matte, all gloss. You're looking at, for a GTR, about £3,000 for, or maybe cheaper. It really depends. There's a lot of wrapping companies popping up now, but obviously I recommend Yiannimize. If you want to pay for something that costs that much, you want to make sure you've got insurance. Let's say, something happens to your wrap, it starts to bubble. You take it back to Yiannimize and they'll fix it, absolutely no problems. And then you've got your kind of custom colours like camo, snakeskin. They're a little bit more expensive than your gloss, your satin and your matte. And then next one up on that is chrome. Chrome, I believe, would cost you around £6,000 for your silver, your gold, your blue, I believe, red, and black silver chrome, I think that's what it's called. But yeah, there's like about 5 colours that fit into the chrome category for about £6,000, and then you've got custom chrome, which is a lot more expensive. I'm not going to say how much I paid, because that's more private, but it was more expensive than your typical chrome. Alright, so the next thing that I did to my car, actually I did it before my wrap, was the carbon. So let's just cover literally everything I've had done to mine. We've got the front grille, the front splitter, the side skirt all the way down here, the rear diffuser, the spoiler, and I've also got some carbon on the inside, so let's bring it in here. All I've had on the inside is these paddle shifters, which are, I believe, something like 50% longer than the normal ones, or 60% longer. So basically when you're turning, you can still change it up and down rather than just having like a little area where you basically hold onto the stick or the shifters. And also we do have a engine bay cover, which you probably already have seen. Alright, so the carbon like this, if you're going for real carbon, it's going to be quite costly. You're looking at you know, around maybe a few £100 to £500 for something like just that. And again, for each section it may be anywhere between £500 and £750. I think the spoiler was closer to about £1,000. So again, like, you can put a lot of money into these optional upgrades, which you're not going to get the money back when you sell it. So it's all down to preference. It's subjective to whether you actually feel like it's worth the money. As I already mentioned, it is a 2009 GTR, which means it actually came stock with 480 brake horse, which is as I bought the car. And as you've probably seen in the previous video, if you haven't already, I'll leave it in the description anyway, I actually done some tuning to my car, which was done by KnightRacer, by the way. If you can't tell, it says there right on top of the engine bay cover. But we've had a stage 4.25 upgrades. It sounds like a really, really big amount of tuning. It wasn't actually too major, but it has made a big difference. And for the costs, you're looking at around £3,000 for KnightRacer to get that package. And it went from 480 brake horse to around 650. It does range. Not every car is the same. They're all hand built, and there's always differences between each car. So with GTRs, it all starts at stage 1, 2, 3, 4, of course. I think you're looking at about maybe £500 for stage 1, and then it starts to go up to about £1,200, maybe £1,700, £2,000. You know, it works its way up gradually. And you've also got software upgrades for the gearbox, because early models of the GTR had some problems with the launch control. So you can actually get that fixed, or I don't know if it's 100% fixed, but it's definitely improved with the software upgrade. And before we move on to the next subject, I just want to say that all the tuning I've done, I think I've done it literally 2 months, so about 6 months ago, I've had the mods on this car, and I've had absolutely no problems with it whatsoever, and it's improved the car so much. So really big shout out to KnightRacer for that. And then moving towards the back of the car, you'll notice we have upgraded the exhaust system. I actually did a full video on this, the whole installation, and these things flame like absolutely crazy. And I have to say, I have to give it to Armytrix, they do sound amazing. The exhaust sounds absolutely amazing. I have heard so many different GTR sounds, because I've gone to meets where there's literally 160 GTRs there. You get really, really loud GTRs, you get some which haven't had any mods on. This is kind of somewhere in between, but the great thing about it, of course, is you have a remote, so you can turn it off or you can turn it on. Basically, it just opens a valve to make it louder, which is really handy, especially if you live somewhere where maybe you don't want to wake people up if you're getting home from work, or yeah, you just don't want to wake up everybody and the next door neighbours and piss everybody off, basically.
I might try and zoom in as well, like so when
Armytrix literally just messaging me now. How weird is that? Also, whilst we were looking at the exhaust, I realised I hadn't actually covered the lights. So these again are optional upgrades. These are Valenti Dual, I think they're elemental lights. I don't even know the full. It's got a really long name basically. It's just a very nice smoked out looking light. Again, I got these from KnightRacer. I believe they're around somewhere between £500 and £700. I can't quite remember how much they cost. Again, these are optional. You do not need these. It just depends on if you want to stand out from the crowd, look a little bit different. And also the side running lights. I think they're called daytime running lights, which are these things here, which are smoked out. Looks like someone's been cleaning that. Bit of fluff there, so I've got those on both sides, and they look really cool as well. And one last thing, literally I thought I covered everything. There's even more costs to this. So you've got your just general cleaning. If you want to do it yourself and put in 2 or 3 hours every week or 2 weeks to clean the car, that's fine. You're gonna have to spend a little bit on your soap, any kind of polish or anything you want to use there. But I have someone clean it literally every 2 or 3 weeks, and the reason why is because they know how to take care of the chrome, which is obviously a little bit different to just normal paintwork. So to keep chrome clean, especially in this terrible English weather with the salt on the roads, it leaves like these little raindrop marks. It makes it look dirty. Trust me, I had this cleaned about 3 or 4 days ago, and it looks quite dirty at the moment. So you're looking at about £50 per month, let's say, just for the cleaning stuff, whether you're having someone else clean it or you're driving through somewhere. It really depends again what job you've got, if it's paint or it's chrome or it's a wrap or whatever you've got. Alright guys, so that is pretty much the best I can do in terms of running costs and trying to summarize it all. I think I've got everything. As you can see, there was actually quite a lot to cover, especially on the optional upgrades. There wasn't too much on the inside of the car I needed to do, but something we didn't really talk about is if something goes wrong with my car. Luckily for me, I haven't really experienced any major problems. Obviously, I've had things done to the car that, you know, might actually increase the chance of that, but so far it's been really reliable. At the end of the day, it's a Japanese car. They're known for the reliability, and I think good build quality, basically. Not so great on the interior, I have to say. German interior and other cars do have great interior. It's not too bad. I'm not saying it's awful, but yeah, it's a fantastic car. Absolutely love it. I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep it. Maybe years. Like I'm actually in love with this car. But now we are going to compare with Paul. The
top
costs.
trumps.
Yes, top trumps basically. How much it costs to maintain these cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
what do you want to start with? Servicing.
Yeah, let's start with my R8 first. So my old R8. Yeah. Let's see whether my R8 was cheaper than this. So servicing was around 1,200 quid per year.
Per year, for me, anywhere between 600 and £1,000. It depends what service you're going for, because it depends if you need your gearbox,
whether it's a major or whether it's
a major or minor, basically. So I'd say you're pretty much on the same track there. There's not much difference. So yeah, we'll call that evens. It's tight. What about your Gallardo?
My Gallardo is exactly the same because they're basically Audis.
Yeah, yeah. So, similar engines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so next one is going to be the tyres. So for me, the cheaper tyres are about £800 to £900. The Pirellis, or you know, your Michelin's, I think they're called co-pilots, right? You probably know more. I haven't used them yet, so I don't know. You're looking at about £1,200. I imagine it's going to be similar because tyres are tyres at the end of the day.
Well, my R8, 800 quid. 800 quid for a full set of Pirellis. Pirellis or Michelin, I can't remember.
What size on the back were they? Do you remember? Oh dear. Let's just not put that in there. He don't remember. Cut. It's not his current car, so we can't slate him too much.
Don't ask me this question for the Lambo either.
Really? You don't know?
No. But my Lamborghini, the tyres are around 1,200 quid, so they are more expensive, and they are the Michelin.
They should be obviously thicker. Yeah. For grip on the back, especially. So yeah, tyres are tyres, aren't they? Yeah. So they're always going to be the same. It's not like you've got special Lamborghini fittings or anything like that. Next one is going to be the brakes. So for me, if I wanted to replace every single disc and every single brake pad, you're looking at about £2,000. So
the R8's 1,500 quid.
1,500 quid.
Slightly cheaper.
That better not be mates rates. I'm not including mates rates.
No. But the Lamborghini is £2,500.
So it sits between.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So that's where it's going to make this car sit in between then.
Yeah.
And the next one is going to be the insurance.
Oh, okay, it's interesting.
It's subjective, isn't it?
It is definitely, because when I bought my Audi R8, I was 23.
Yeah.
So I was slightly older when you bought this. My R8 insurance started at around £2,000, and then after the first year, it went down to 1,000.
Yeah.
So it halved, which was amazing. The Lamborghini pushed it back up to around 2.5.
Do you know, I think that the fairest way to do this is actually just to go on like Go Compare or something, and do it as for one person, because it's hard to compare like his insurance to my insurance, because then it's like
we're not living at the same address, we're not the same age.
Exactly.
There's so many different variables to making insurance cheap or expensive.
And I've been on Go Compare before, just like checking out how much a Ferrari costs to insure. I don't know why, it's not like I'm going to buy another one.
It's just a game.
Exactly, I just like to see what the insurance is like, and for me, the GTR and the Audi R8 are very similar. The Gallardo would be, let's say this is 1,300, the Gallardo would actually be about 1,800, but it does depend on which model. So you've got your early versions, then you've got your one, which is a more later, up-to-date one. Bicolore is, that's what it's called, isn't it? That's how you pronounce it. I've always
Bicolore. I'm sure there's an Italian accent that you can put on it.
Probably. Yeah, we won't put it in this video.
No.
We don't want to mess up too much. Tax. Tax is pretty simple. They're all 500 or 550 quid roughly. You know,
they've all got the worst CO2 emissions.
Exactly. So the only supercar that really gets there is about the Audi, BMW i8. That's the only one that gets through that.
Yeah.
So next one is going to be fuel, which is a very big cost, and you cannot avoid this. You have to use fuel. So for me, £3,000 a year if I wanted to do 10,000 miles. How much is it for you?
Oh, okay, so I work it out slightly differently. I do it per month, and because I drove the R8 every day, like you do with the Nissan GTR, it worked out to be about £500 a month, which was expensive. It was a lot.
That is very expensive.
I spent like 2 days 2 days a week at the fuel station, whereas the Lamborghini, I don't drive it every single day, so it's slightly cheaper. So again, I reckon the Lambo's more £3,000 per 10,000 miles. The R8 was slightly more because I was driving it every day.
Exactly. I think you said you covered 15 or 16,000 miles in about a year, and you said £5,000, right? So for me, I'm on par with like 10,000 miles, £3,000. But I think by the time I do Modball in June, July, that'll just be over a year of ownership. I'll probably have covered 16,000 miles and probably done about £5,000. So I think fuel costs, R8 and this, very similar, but again, it's all subjective. If you drive it fast, if you do a lot of motorway miles, you're gonna get better MPG. But I think Lamborghini Gallardo, maybe just a little bit more. And it's one of those cars as well, Gallardo. If you drive it occasionally, you're gonna probably drive it harder and use more fuel. So it's subjective. Alright, so we now have covered all the running costs and things that you need to actually keep this thing going. Now we covered obviously the optional upgrades on this car, so let's just talk about the wrap. How much would it cost to wrap an Audi R8, Gallardo and a GTR and actually compare to each other? Now, when it comes to wrapping, again it's subjective. You can go to somewhere that does the job and you drive off and you might get a problem 6 months later, a year later, 2 years later, and they might not be so up for replacement. So you can go to, as I said at the start, Yiannimize is someone I recommend massively. But yeah, so we've got Audi R8.
The Audi R8 and the Lambo, very similar size. So when you're ordering the material,
very similar.
Very similar. Obviously it then depends on the gloss, metallic, chrome, matte, all of that stuff. Whereas this, I think, is a slightly bigger car.
It is.
So you're going to be ordering more material. However, the R8 and the Lambo got slightly more curves and more nitty-gritty small bits.
It's about labour time. Sometimes you will have to actually, I know for my car, they had to take off the rear diffuser, the rear of the car. You might have seen pictures on Yanni's page and maybe even my Instagram where the whole of the rear was off because they have to get behind it to make sure it just seals off nicely and it doesn't start to bubble in the future.
Exactly.
So again, subjective, but generally speaking, you're looking at roughly about the same. We'll say roughly. No, let's say you pay £3 for this. Just an example. It might be 3,200 or 3,500 for something that you're doing on the
Lamborghini. It's if you want to do something like a Lamborghini Aventador. That's where you need to take the panels off. It becomes a lot of nightmare.
Exactly.
That's more expensive.
And I think that is pretty. Oh, exhaust. Actually, we haven't covered the exhaust because exhaust costs do range from car to car. Again, something you don't need to do, but if you do it, for me, you don't have to take engine out and all that stuff. It was literally getting the car up on the ramp,
changing the pipes,
taking 3 different sections of the pipe, and that's that. So, what about that for the R8?
So the R8, it was again literally back bumper off, heat shield off, back box off, new back box on. So it was very, very easy to do. It took about a day, and obviously the exhaust cost around £4,000 or £5,000, and then the labour was around £200. But the Lamborghini, you need to take the engine out.
I saw that video. That looked
to do the extra bit. So you have to pay. You paid for the extra bits, and you paid for more labour to get the engine out and back in. So yeah, that was much more expensive. The whole package together, if you wanted to go to Armytrix and SB Race Engineering to do it, over 10 grand.
So that's the thing with these kinds of cars, whether it's the Gallardo, the R8, or this. You can literally spend whatever you want on the optionals. We've covered the running costs now, and I think it's fair to say it sits slightly above the Audi R8, but not as much as you probably thought when you did your video and actually owned your Audi R8.
It's actually a lot more affordable in when you're thinking about these sorts of cars that cost this much money to run.
Well, when you think, oh no, I was going to say, you could actually own just this and still get all your shopping in, but you know, if you had your R8, you have to have your S1, or I think it's an S1, isn't it, to kind of do the things you were doing. So it depends how you look at it. It's all subjective, but with these cars, you can spend whatever you want on the optional upgrades. As we were saying before we come here, Liberty Walk Kit, I think it's like 10 grand just for the actual part. And once you've done that, you can't actually go back. It's not reversible.
The great thing about all of the stuff that we're doing is it's reversible back to stock. So you can take this and make it back to factory. It's exactly the same as a Lamborghini. It's just going to cost you a little bit of labour, but as well, probably something that's important to say is none of this wouldn't be possible without the sponsorship that we're able to that we're able to gain.
Exactly.
And that's sort of a huge thank you to everyone that you've mentioned in this video and everyone that you'll see over on my channel as well, because it's such a huge help when it comes to running a car like this.
It definitely is. So guys, that is going to be the end of the video. Big thank you to Paul.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No worries, man. Really, really good to have your help going around the car. I needed someone. I couldn't just have it on a tripod. That looked really boring. But also just for the idea, because I remember literally the first video I watched was the Audi R8 running costs. I found it really interesting, and hopefully you guys found this interesting as well. Maybe we'll be doing, well, I say maybe, I think we're definitely going to be doing some more stuff in the future, especially in the summer, because at the moment I just
once the sun comes out, once the sun comes out, Mod Ball,
we're both going to Mod Ball.
That's going to be a huge event. It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait. I actually can't wait for that. But Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, guys. What doesn't make sense? I'll see you guys later. Alright. I think that's a good wrap.
Yeah.